what did she tell you about the review? And specifically, did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the file?
No. She's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen. And I would say that, these files were made up by Comey, they were made up by Obama, they were made up by the Biden, we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it.
Okay, so Jake Sherman, that was from July 15th. We have just found out from the Wall Street Journal that Donald Trump was informed in May by Pam Bondi that he was in the Epstein files. His name appeared multiple times. That was in May. July comes after May on the calendar. He says, no.
Confirmed.
You can confirm it. She gave us a quick briefing, blah, 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 Comey, blah, 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 Russia, blah, 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 Obama. This is sticky, Jake. How much is it overpowering Congress right now?
Let me give you a sense. The House has been shut down. I don't know how to otherwise say it. The Rules Committee, which controls the pathway to the floor for leadership, you have a bill, you need to get a rule, meaning it needs to go through this committee, and the Rules Committee decides what amendments get on, how long they debate it for. They can't get bills through the Rules Committee because Republicans don't want to vote down Democratic Epstein amendments. So the Democrats put up an amendment.
Is it just the Democrats? I mean, the Rules Committee, the majority is Republican. Do they need the Democrats on board?
No. Well, no, they don't. But Ralph Norman voted with the Democrats once.
Okay, so it's Republicans, too.
Correct. But Democrats put up these amendments, and Republicans don't want to vote no. They are not willing to vote against these Epstein amendments because it's politically toxic for them to be seen as blocking the release of these Epstein amendments. So Johnson can't do anything. Mike Johnson.
So the Democrats know what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
In this respect, they found a foothold.
I will say they have been a challenged minority at times, as all minorities are, right? House minority is a tough game. They have found their footing on this issue. I think we're writing at this moment, as I sit here, a top to one of our newsletters about how many committees are now getting in on this game. Like committees across the Capitol, there are Epstein amendments that are coming up that Democrats are putting forward.
Explain that.
Because they see this as a good issue. They see this as an issue where they could catch Republicans in a tough political pickle. I mean, this isn't like a question of are we cutting Medicaid by X or not cutting Medicaid? Like where Republicans can say, no, we're not cutting it, we're saving. This is like, do you want these documents, which you said you wanted to be released? Okay,
so Mike Johnson, by the way, let me just get this out of the way. Stephen Chung, according to the Wall Street Journal story, or in reaction to the Wall Street Journal story, which says Donald Trump was informed he's in the files, he says this is another fake news story, just like the previous story by the Wall Street Journal. And they're trying to bury this and move on. Congress is also, or at least Mike Johnson wants to move on from this. He's ended Congress early. They were supposed to get out tomorrow. They're getting out today instead. As you mentioned, votes are held up. When they come back in September after their nice long summer break, is this still going to be an issue?
If the White House doesn't do anything to preempt it. Like the complaint from Mike Johnson and the leadership team is like, this. Let me just be clear. It's not from Mike Johnson specifically, it's from his leadership team. It's like, why isn't the White House doing anything to protect us? And I'll tell you why.
What can the White House do?
They could do, I don't know, they could release something. I don't know what they could do, but I'll tell you why they're not doing it. And we've written this. The White House is used to a House Republican majority and a Senate Republican majority that just does what the president wants. We were talking about this on air, right? If the president says this is not a story, this should go away, we should be done with this, then that's what they usually do. They're not doing that in this instance. So Tom Massey, Donald Trump, Republican of Kentucky, who Donald Trump has said should lose his seat in Congress, and he's going to challenge him, and he's already spending money, his operation is spending money against him, has a discharge petition that would force a vote, regardless of what Johnson wants to do, would force a vote on an Epstein resolution that has the force of law.
And matures when they get back, right?
It ripens.
Ripens.
Ripens is the word we use. It needs to lay out for a certain number of days. It ripens, I think, the second or third day Congress comes back in September.
And so if the Democrats sign on to it.
If all Democrats sign on, I think we're at 212 or 213 Democrats in the House. They would need 6 or 7 House Republicans, which they have.
Republicans would be in an uncomfortable position of
having to vote on the floor, because then it would come for a vote on the floor.
And how do they vote against it? If they're having a hard time voting against it in the Rules Committee, how do they
Because there are some people who are
not
on the Rules Committee who would be right. So I don't remember exactly who signed on to this resolution, but those people aren't on the Rules Committee, so they'd be happy to vote for it.
So here's the issue. I mean, we talk about what the White House can do to help Congress out. Donald Trump has said, stop talking about this. And lawmakers are not stopping because either they truly do believe it, maybe that's in the case of Marjorie Taylor Greene actually believing this stuff, or their voters really believe it, and their voters are pushing them to demand more of the White House and DOJ on the Epstein files. The problem, and I think Tim Burchett said this well, is that it's never going to be enough.
No, it's not going to be enough. But my number one rule with Congress is members are out for self-preservation more than anything else. Donald Trump is not up for re-election. Members of Congress are up for re-election in the House in 15 and a half months. And they are going to face voters who are going to say, why didn't you release these Epstein files? And the principal political hurdle for most members of Congress is a primary.
Can I just mention, when you say their number one goal is self-preservation.
Yep.
Why is the Epstein stuff, the files, more of a hot potato for them politically and in the midterms than voting on the big, beautiful bill, which is polling terribly among the public and stands to harm the very voters that gave Donald Trump the White House and the majority?
Because they cut taxes in it, and I think they've convinced
They didn't. They kept taxes
tax rates
where they were.
They did cut some taxes. They cut taxes on tips, taxes on overtime. They cut some. They did do some new tax cuts, not many, but some. Because there's a fog of war element to a trifecta when Republicans have when any party has the House, the Senate, and the White House. And that is, you do things that are not always in your political interest because your president is urging you, your leadership is urging you, you're in the middle of it and you vote yes. And on this is something they've been talking about for 6, 7, 8 years, getting these papers out and figuring out what's behind this.
How do you assess the Democrats right now? I mean, is it interesting covering Congress right now?
It's always interesting covering Congress.
Is it because Republicans have basically handed over their authority to Donald Trump?
Yes.
Does that make it more interesting or less interesting to cover Congress?
More, because it makes it more because you see members of Congress do things that you wouldn't otherwise assume that they would do. We saw this in the last Trump administration. If you told me in 2010, 2011, 2012, that there would be a pandemic and Republicans would send checks to millions of people across the country, I would have said you're nuts. Donald Trump makes Republicans do things that I don't expect them to do. Now, Democrats, how do you assess Democrats? They are finally finding their footing on the Epstein issue. They are. I mean, they were against the big, beautiful bill. They stood together against that. Hakeem Jeffries gave a long speech. That's a speech. It was an interesting speech. I watched it. I was there for much of it. But it was a speech. This is action. This is putting amendments up in committee and forcing Republicans to vote for it. We're going to get more action in which Democrats have leverage in September when the government runs out of money and Democrats have a choice to make. It
makes me a little bit nervous.
I don't want you to be nervous.
Well, let me rephrase this. I wonder if it is a good idea for Democrats to get on board with the Epstein stuff in the way that they have. Because, as James Carville, I think, put it better than I could ever, a self-inflicted wound is more damaging. So if the Democrats try to force the Epstein to wound Donald Trump further with the Epstein files, does that not have the effect of rallying Donald Trump's voters and base around him? They hate the Democrats. They think the Democrats are always out to get Donald Trump no matter what. Would it not be better for them to let Donald Trump and the Republicans stew in this, lay in the bed that they've made?
To take your analogy, or to take Carville's analogy, what they're doing is they're handing Republicans the gun, right? This is a self-inflicted wound, but Democrats are giving them the ammo to inflict the wound. I mean, if Democrats weren't putting up these amendments, it would be a much different story. Republicans would go along to get along. Trump would say, don't talk about it. They wouldn't be forced to talk about it. The documents wouldn't come out. They'd be moved to the next issue. Like, it would just go away. Democrats are forcing tough votes on Republicans, which is what the minority oftentimes does.
Are they doing that and also able to push their own agenda, their own positive pitch for the American public?
They're going to have to.
We've seen over and over again that they don't win when they just run on being against Donald Trump.
They're going to have to. They're going to have to. They're going to have to in 2026. They don't need to talk about.
Do they know what they want to say?
They are starting to talk about it. Hakeem Jeffries says the American dream is that everyone has a chance and everyone can make a good life if you play by the, stuff that you hear Democrats say all the time. They're not reinventing the wheel, but Republicans don't reinvent the wheel either, right? Like 2026 will be, if we look at history, will be an election that's based on a check on power. Do you want Donald Trump to have a Republican Congress, or do you want him to have a Democratic Congress that will hold him to account?
Once the Epstein stuff might dominate for longer, but at some point it is going to, I imagine it will die down. What is the other issue that is important to consider for the midterms? If the Democrats are looking for an issue to campaign on, is it the big, beautiful bill? Can they sustain energy around that up until the midterms? Is there something else?
The biggest issue that I don't think anyone is talking about enough is a little wonky, but I'll tell you what it is. In past years, during COVID and previous to that, Democrats put in place premium tax credits for Obamacare. Those expire at the end of the year. These are tax credits that help people afford health insurance. The CBO has said some millions of people will lose or not be able to afford their health insurance if these tax credits are not renewed. The cuts on Medicaid are in 2027. They're after the midterm elections. Now, the market is going to shift because of those cuts. People are already saying they're not going to serve Medicaid patients, rather. So we already see things happening that are going to affect the electorate. If people suddenly get letters in the mail, which they are going to start in the fall, saying your rate is going from $20 a month to $500 a month, that is a big issue.
And how do Democrats seize that? How do they explain that it's Donald Trump, not them doing it?
That's a good question. Now, what they could try to do is they could try to throw Republicans a lifeline and say, we're going to help you fund the government if you extend these tax credits. I don't know that they'll do that. I don't know that that's possible.
Okay. You hit on something that I want to talk about, and that is, do Democrats work with Republicans to pass anything going forward? Do they work with them on the budget when Democrats feel like they have already been burned on this rescission stuff? There was a moment on the floor between Senator Katie Britt, and Senator Chris Murphy, where they're having a heated exchange. You could see it right there. They seem to be yelling at each other. Well, people were curious, what in the world were these two talking about? Senator Murphy was asked by Tim Miller, and he explained it.
This was a conversation she and I were having right after the Republicans passed the rescissions bill. And I was, she and I write the Department of Homeland Security budget together. She's the chairman. I'm the top ranking Democrat. And I was saying to her, how on earth are we going to write a bill to fund the Department of Homeland Security when the president is engaged every single day in illegal activity? He is ignoring the funds that we have appropriated to protect people. He is not observing the asylum laws of this nation. And you guys have telegraphed to us that even if I sit down and write a bipartisan bill with you and get something in there that's really important to, my state or, the people that I care about, you'll just use the rescissions tactic to cancel my spending afterwards. Like, why would I trade baseball cards with my friend if he tells me I'm going to break into your house tomorrow night and steal my cards back?
Is that a broad sentiment among the Democratic senators?
Okay, well, let me take this from a couple angles. Number one, rescissions are not there's this idea out there that rescissions are this extrajudicial concept that is somehow corrupt or illegal or improper. It's not, right? This is part of the law. The White House is allowed to put a rescissions package in front of Congress. Congress gets to decide if it passes it. So, I'm not so sympathetic to that argument.
Well, I don't think Murphy's arguing it's not illegal. He's just saying, why would I give you money if
that is a fair point.
Okay.
That is a fair point. The Democrats have zero incentive to cooperate with Republicans. Zero. Furthermore, Congress needs Democrats to avert a government shutdown in September. 60 votes are needed to pass a bill in the Senate. That's just
Chuck Schumer was burned for helping them pass the budget
killed.
last time.
He was killed, and he got nothing out of it. And his argument was, if they shut down the government,
they're never going to open it back up.
And Doge is going to go crazy, and they're going to eliminate all this stuff, and maybe so. That's why Democrats are in a huge pickle here. And I don't see this getting solved easily, and there's nothing more that Donald Trump would like, amid all of this chaos, to have a government shutdown because Democrats won't vote for a funding bill. The smartest thing Republicans could do, and they don't usually do the smartest thing, Republicans, but the smartest thing they could do is a CR, extend the current government funding levels from now, which are Biden funding levels, through the next fiscal year, and just put a clean bill in front of Democrats and say, vote it up or vote it down.
I've been sitting in this chair now for, maybe 9 years, 8 years. And, I first learned what a continuing resolution was about 10 years ago, and how it wasn't really the thing that Congress did. They usually just passed a budget, but lately they've been doing these CRs, and it's just only been CRs since then.
And it's bad. It's bad for governing. I mean, you should want your Congress to reflect their priorities, whether it's Republicans or Democrats, and they're not doing it.
Texas redistricting.
Biggest story in American politics right now.
Why?
Republicans and Democrats are now in an arms race to reshape the country's congressional lines to benefit them politically. Gerrymandering. Texas is looking to get 5 seats, Republican seats, turn 5 Democratic seats red in Texas to pad the losses that they might otherwise have across the country. In turn, Gavin Newsom is looking to win 5 seats or more in California to offset those losses. The White House says there are other states that are going to do this. Ohio has to redistrict by law because of the courts this year. We have reported that Missouri is looking at it. The Trump administration has even said Florida, a state that has a big Republican delegation, is going to look to draw out some of its Democrats. This is an arms race, Katie, and this is incredibly, incredibly important.
Doesn't this only underscore that if you want to win, you have to come out with a winning message? You've got to figure out a way to speak to voters on the other side. You have to find a way to win back voters. It was not so long ago that Texas was Democrat.
True. Or
there have been switches.
The other argument. I would make the argument that if you can't convince your voters, just choose new ones.
Well, that is what they're doing.
Yes.
But if the Democratic Party cannot compete in this arms race, and can they?
Well, they really can't, because they have a lot of states that have constitutional provisions.
Okay, so if they can't compete in this arms race, the only other option is for them to convince those voters that they are better than the Republicans are. And they have had a hard time doing that. We saw in 2024, almost every county in the country got redder. Almost every single one, as working class voters aligned themselves more with the Republicans and saw the Democrats as out-of-touch elites. The counties that, by the way, went blue were the more elite counties, the ones with college degrees and more money. That was not the case everywhere else in the country. What are Democrats missing?
A lot, and if you look at the congressional map, you hit the nail on the head. The blue is on the 2 coasts. The rest of the country is effectively red, except for big cities. Missouri is all red besides St. Louis and Kansas City. I mean, this is it's things like that. It's not too long ago that when I started covering Congress in 2009, Alabama had a majority Democratic delegation. Mississippi did. Ohio was largely blue just 15 years ago. What are they missing? They have turned in because they hold power on the 2 coasts. They have shaped their policies to be a coastal elite party.
Is immigration still an issue that they can seize? I mean, Donald Trump dominated on the issue of immigration. The poll numbers, though, now suggest that he does not have the same support as he once did. The border definitely shut down, and maybe this is why people are feeling a little bit more uneasy about and focusing more on what he's doing internally, and they're saying they don't like it. So do Democrats have an opportunity on immigration, and could that be the game-changing issue for them if they find a message on it that works for the party and is also convincing for voters who have not liked them recently?
Yes, but I was talking to a House Democrat the other day who's from a competitive district who said effectively this: everyone cares about the cost of living. And unless you nail that message, you don't have the birth to talk about any other issue under the sun. We have to win on that argument to be able to talk about the other issues. And if Democrats don't win on that argument, every other issue is moot. That's according to this House Democrat, not suggesting that's right or wrong. Inhumane conditions for undocumented immigrants is an issue. I don't know that it's going to be the issue that dominates this race. I think this is a choice election between whether you want Donald Trump controlling the entirety of the governing structure of the country or not. And listen, Katie, every midterm election, first midterm election, or really midterm election of a president's term, the other party wins.
I understand that, but they are trying to redistrict the arms race, as we were just mentioning a moment ago. And in terms of enthusiasm for Democrats, we've seen giant turnout in special elections. We've seen giant turnout in midterms as Democrats say, no, we don't like this. But I don't know if is it a good idea to rely on that going forward, or do you need to do something like what Mamdani is doing here in New York by presenting voters with ideas for the future, with policy, with a way that he would govern? He's not so much defining himself against Donald Trump or the Republicans. He's defining himself independently of that. And I've seen very little of that from Democrats broadly and nationally. It's all very much still about Donald Trump all the time and not as much about what Democrats are going to do. I mean, I had Colin Allred on today, and I asked him about immigration. He gave me a word salad answer. Immigration, he's a Texas Democrat. He's running for Senate. He had a word salad answer on immigration. I found that surprising.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think Democrats could learn a lot from Mamdani. I also think they could fall into a pit with him. He won a primary in one of the most progressive states in the country, in an electorate that was, 8% of the New York City voter population. Like, I'm not sure as a broad issue you could learn a ton about that. I do think that offering solutions to people's problems is generally right. I want to make one more point about Texas. There is a situation where this is going to backfire tremendously on Republicans, and that situation is as follows. Ken Paxton, Attorney General of Texas, in a primary against John Cornyn. Ken Paxton could win that primary. Far-right candidate, quite controversial. Democrats will spend any amount of money to pick off that seat from Ken Paxton. Then you have all of these Republican districts that you've taken from being an R plus 20, right? A Republican wins by an average of 20 percentage points, and made him an R plus 10. So then you have huge Democratic enthusiasm and districts that are not as red as they used to be because you've made Democratic districts more competitive for Republicans. So then you're fighting a wildfire, right? You're trying to protect your incumbents, win these new seats. It becomes a really tricky situation for Texas Republicans. And a lot of, by the way, the Texas Republican delegation on Capitol Hill does not want this. They do not want this at all.
We got to get out of here because I got to go to a Fish show and you got to catch the train.
Heard of them.
We were at the show last night. Do you want to give me your review? Forest Hills, great stadium, great venue, by the way.
Yeah, we were talking about this off camera. I think there is not another band around that is innovating at the pace that they are innovating and getting better at the pace that they are getting better this late into their career.
And they can still gain new fans.
It's amazing. Yeah.
I brought a friend last night, never seen Fish.
Very nice woman.
Doesn't know any Fish, and she absolutely loved it. She also loved that everybody was our age.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. I go to some other bands that I see without mentioning names. The audience is only getting older.
Yeah.
Here, the audience is getting younger. And I mean, that second set, a 5-song second set, is like 1997.
There was one
stuff.
point during the second set, during Carini, where I lost the plot. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know how long I'd been standing there or how long Carini had been playing.
My body feels it.
I know, mine too. We are getting old.
We are not getting younger.
Okay, favorite song in the set of the show?
I think Carini has to be it. And I'm not a huge Carini fan, like as a general proposition.
It's an aggressive opener, Carini.
But it was a great second set.
I like Terry Hood.
Who could not like, and there's never a bad time for a tweezer.
No, there is not, or a tweet prize, which they ended with, you tried to drag me out of there before
I
it.
get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to put out Punchbowl News' AM edition.
Whatever. All right, I gotta go. Jake
Me
Sherman.
too. Thank you,
Come
Katie.
see me in New York more.
Okay. All right.
I'm gonna drag you over this table.
When Congress is out, I'm here. Well, I mean, I'm not, but I could be.
You could be, you should be.
Yeah.